Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And we are here, and it's another beautiful day at the Pirate Broadcast. And I just want to welcome you. If you're listening live, or you're listening remotely, or you're listening tomorrow or another day, interesting people doing interesting things. And we have none other than Jennifer. Jennifer is going to help us understand what it is to be a super connector and making connections on LinkedIn and doing a few things that will improve your efficiency. So, Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on the show. I love your intro music. Everything about it is great. So I'm really excited to be here.
I'm just, I'm equally excited. And the beautiful thing about this in the pirate community overall is that there's been so many people that have actually made friendship and developed relationships. And for me, that's what it's all about is, it's difficult in social media when you have so many connections that my struggle personally is that I have this little thing on my shoulder that says I can't stay in contact with everyone all the time. And it's just so frustrating because, we do have things that we have to be doing in addition to social media. And I know you're very efficient at it, and you've been doing LinkedIn, and you're a super connector. And so what I want to talk about a little bit is, for those that don't know you, share a little bit about who you are and how you evolved to this point. And then, I want to get into a little bit about the LinkedIn and the process and some of those things. So who is Jennifer?
Who am I? So I'm probably, in relation to LinkedIn trainers, I'm a bit of an oddball because I don't come from a marketing background or a digital marketing background. I studied English and French in university and kind of fell into temping and doing admin. So I worked on a magazine back in Dublin as an editor's assistant. Then I moved to London and tried to break into publishing, but I couldn't. So I rebranded myself as a personal assistant, an executive assistant, and it suited my personality because I like helping other people, but it had nothing to do with my English and French degree. And I ended up being a PA in London for about 15 years, and that's when I first started using LinkedIn. So I used it in my day job, so I was connecting with suppliers like hotels, restaurants. And it was really useful for me in my day-to-day job because I could always get a last-minute table for my team or my boss, or I could get us in at a good hotel and I could negotiate discounts. And initially, I started to kind of contact or connect with my colleagues. First of all, in London, I kind of started small. And then I thought, hey, why am I only focusing on London? I'll do the UK. Then it was like, well, let's bring in Europe. Then it was like, I'm going to catch people in America. And I just was like, well, let's just bring in the world, because it really helped me. For example, if I had to book a trip in Berlin and I was struggling to find a hotel, maybe there was a festival on, I could reach out to my peer, like a PA over in Berlin, and say, hey, can you help me? And that's how I used it, really. So there's a massive PA community, especially on LinkedIn, and they're all very supportive people because most PAs are like a green personality type helping others. Yes. So I used it for years like that, and mainly, if I'm honest, in the back end with Messenger. So slowly but surely I started to dabble with groups and then post a little bit on the home feed, do the odd blog, but mainly as an employee, it was Messenger. And now as a business owner, I'm a bit of an accidental business owner. My back went a few years ago, so I slipped a disc, and I was forced to take. It's fine because it's all good now. And it's, to be honest, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know that sounds crazy, but it made me stop, like lockdown. I had to, take time off. I had to basically lie down for 30 days after the op just to keep the back straight. And I was messing on my phone a lot. And prior to that, I had been using LinkedIn in my role. I'd studied social media as a hobby. So I had like 15 qualifications in LinkedIn for business, Twitter for business, Facebook, Instagram, everything, WordPress, SEO. I just really fell in love with communicating online, which probably stems from me doing an English and French degree because I liked communicating and connecting. So while I was off with the back surgery, I just decided I wasn't that happy in my day-to-day role. I was in financial services. And if you know me, I'm not that type of person. I kind of got stuck in an industry that doesn't suit my values or who I am. I had a nice team, but it just wasn't fulfilling me. And I just thought, sod it, I'm going to get better. I'm going to quit my job. I had no plan. I'd love to say I had a plan. I was like, oh, I'm going to become a social media trainer. It didn't happen like that. I set up initially and thought I'm going to be a virtual assistant because that's the natural transition. And I did that for a few months and thought, oh, I'm not really feeling this anymore. And then I morphed into a social media manager. So I was doing all the scheduling and everything on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Did that for a year or two. And then started to morph into like consulting. So I thought, actually, I like to help people to learn how to do this rather than me doing it for them. They still haven't got a clue what they're doing, you know what I mean? And they're relying on me. So I morphed into consulting, then into training. And then about a year and a half ago, I was just like, I want to do LinkedIn only. It's always been the one that was my passion. But I think initially I had imposter syndrome when I thought, I can't say I'm a LinkedIn specialist because I'm new to this, even though I'd been using it for 15 years as an employee. So it's been a journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm a bit of an oddball. I don't come from a marketing background. I'm not about the home feed. I'm more about coming at it from Messenger and introductions and tagging people in. So it's all about helping others. I'd love to say I'm brilliant on the home feed like you, but that's not my specialty. And even with content creation, I'd love to say I can create viral content. I can't. So I'm more just about the one-to-one in the back end. So
Well, and I think I love that because, you know, I think a lot of people fail to understand the power of the personal connection, and the messaging and the direct messages are really incredibly powerful. You know,
yeah,
you can build relationships and actually have conversations with the messages. And, you know, unfortunately, it has its dark side where, you know, you connect with somebody and the next second you get a bot message that says, you know, hey, buy my stuff.
yeah,
However, if you get past that and you really actually understand the power and authority you can possess when you're getting your messages, and it does take time. It's relationship
yeah,
building. It's not, you know, mass, you know, accumulation of numbers. It's more about mass relationships and building the community. Like you were saying in the PA community, it's all around the world, and
yeah.
people with similar interests and goals are all working together. And that's the beauty of social media that I find so fascinating. So what have you discovered along your journey that has surprised you about social media in yourself? I mean, you know, it sounds like it's been, you know, kind of like you've been finding this groove and, you know, getting more in tune with what it is. So
Yeah.
is there anything that you've seen that has really sparked a light in you in terms of social media and making those connections? Because it seems like that's what really is the driver for you.
Yeah, I think the main thing that surprised me was that I liked it and that I was good at it. Because initially I was afraid of it. Like, and I know a lot of people still are intimidated by LinkedIn. I remember being terrified of Twitter. I remember thinking, what are these tweets? There's so much pressure to be clever in like 180 characters, and I just thought, oh my God, this is too much, you know. So I think the spark for me was doing the training, to be honest, because I
Uh-huh.
just thought I need to get from my job and LinkedIn. I thought I really need to represent myself well on the platform, but more so at the time, my boss, my team, I want to come across like competent and know what the hell I'm doing. So I just did a quick little course. And I think once I understood the technicalities of the platform, the privacy, the settings, the back end, I was kind of like, oh, this is how you use it. So I kind of learned the theory first and then trying it out and messaging people. And I think the first kind of spark for me was when I got a professional headshot. And then when I was reaching out to people, immediately I could see the difference. People were connecting with me so much quicker. So the fact I'd kind of invested in myself and that headshot I attracted people so much quicker to my profile. And when I was reaching out, people accepted me so much quicker. And then I just thought, wow, this is working. And especially in my old role with suppliers, I was connecting with really high level people, like the manager of the Savoy. I went for a coffee with my brother at the time in the Savoy just on the weekend, and the manager of the Savoy came back beside me and was like, "Hi, Jennifer," and I'd never met him. It was just from LinkedIn, from me messaging and saying, "Oh, can I book a private table for a coffee?" And I thought, wow, this is powerful. And then when I started to go networking in person, even though I'm chatty, we're all chatty Irish people, when I go to networking, it was hard for me. I am an introvert. I can be an ambivert sometimes, but I am an introvert. So having that presence in advance, having people, connected with me, they've already seen my photo, they've kind of bought into me. So when I used to go into events, I always was greeted with, "Hi, Jennifer," from the organizers or people I'd never met, but we'd connect on LinkedIn. And I thought, this is perfect for me as an introvert. It's like a stepping stone tool. And it kind of took away the icky factor of, networking, and it made it so much easier for me. But I think the big thing was, like, obviously the training, and then just the power of a good profile photo. I know it sounds a bit boring, but I just thought, wow, people are, really treating me differently. And it's not a nice thing to say, but we do judge people by appearances. And I thought I probably looked more the part, and then I got things moving much quicker. So
well,
yeah,
I think you to break it out a little bit more, it's really fascinating when you walk into a networking event or you walk into a space and somebody approaches you and says, "We're connected on LinkedIn." I know you from LinkedIn. Hi, Jennifer. And it's fascinating because it's actually real, and it removes the awkward pause and that quiet moment of, like, I don't know anybody in the room. How do I, start a conversation and everything else? And it's a great way to start a conversation and saying, "Oh, well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I really," and then you can have a conversation because you already have a common thread
yeah,
that you've
yeah.
already established. And
I
it's
mean,
really, and the other thing that you mentioned is, I know that there's, profiles out there that really sparkle, and you have a profile that is very appealing. It's very inviting,
oh, thank you.
and it's so having those elements in place are really making a difference in a lot of people. And you just have to think about, okay, how do I want to attract people? Who do I want to attract? And what's the message that I want to share? And
Yeah.
I've always struggled with that. And because I have so many different, I'm always curious. It's like I have so many different interests. That's what the Pirate Broadcast is all about. I get to talk to all kinds of people. So it's like, oh, okay, that's just another element that we can talk about. So what are
Yeah.
some of the things that you see changing? I know polls are coming up in LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and LinkedIn Live is still kind of a small piece of it, and it's becoming bigger, and they're going to start stories from what I understand. So
Yeah.
what do you see on the roadmap? What do you see on the landscape for everything? So
I think
let's
that
talk about that.
LinkedIn are pushing LinkedIn events as well. They're a relatively new feature, and hopefully they will get better in the future, and you can integrate your LinkedIn Live like this with an event. I've tried a
It's
few.
available now.
I'm not sure whether everybody has the
Oh,
functionality. It's a bit like LinkedIn Live. Not everybody will have it. I've tested a few, and I found that it works better with small events. So if you were having like a small local event, maybe 20, 30 people, it's good because you can invite them in and then you can message them all individually. But I've tried it for a large summit and it just didn't work because people didn't really know where to click to find it. So they accepted it, but they didn't know what they'd accepted. I think they thought they'd liked a company page. So they didn't even know they were in an event.
yeah.
So I was posting on the feed of the event, but nobody was in there. So they're working on it, and hopefully it's going to be a lot better. I think when they can stream the LinkedIn Live into that event, it will be a good feature. stories, like you said, they will come out. I have no idea. They're still in beta, but a really interesting thing that's due to come out is in groups at the moment. If you're on the free version of LinkedIn, you can message 15 people a month for free, even if you're not connected. So you could be in a group with someone, and maybe there's somebody you really want to talk to, and you've sent them a connection request and they've ignored you. A hacky way to kind of get in touch with someone like that on the free version is to look at their groups, and if you're in a shared group, you can go in and message them in there. But LinkedIn, they're in beta, and apparently they were supposed to be rolling out that you could message everyone in the same group as you, whether you were connected or not. So that would be really powerful and hopefully give a bit of a boost to groups, because they have died a bit over the last few years, and I have my own, but it's good in one way as a host because they're low commitment because they've died. But I find really great people in groups, and I've built my network. Half of my networks come from groups, so I don't really care about the home feed in a group, and I don't really care if people are dropping spam or links. I go in and look at the people, and I'm like, it's like you said about the networking, it's the common thread. So if we both belong to the Devon Chamber of Commerce or whatever, that just reach out and say, hey, I can see we're both in the group, it'd be great to connect with you. Not a big long war and peace message, just a simple thing, and most people accept. So I think you could find really good people in groups. So that's a new feature. Stories, I don't know about them, to be honest. I think they'll be brilliant for people like you who love video. I think only time will tell the kind of content that, I think the good thing is that they'll be shorter, because some people don't necessarily want to commit to a live for half an hour. So I suppose the good thing is it'll be a minute or two. I think only time will tell. Part of me is like, why do you have to copy Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah.
But I think only time will tell.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. I'm fascinated. I'm kind of the same boat. Is I'm not really sure why they would want to copy Facebook and Instagram, because LinkedIn to me is a different platform. It's a different personality. It's a different audience, different conversation. I do think that there's a place for quick 1-minute videos, like a tip or a suggestion or a recommendation, or an opportunity to have a conversation. So it's really one of those things that you really have to think about what your messaging is on stories. And so that'll develop and evolve. I wanted to tell you, I created an event and streamed live to the event. So with StreamYard, you can actually stream directly to the live.
Okay.
And Randall Constant was testing it out. And you can do it from your personal page, or you can do it from your business page, or you can do it from the event. So it's going to take a little while to evolve and figure out, okay, how to position that, where it works best. And I could see where if you're doing a tutorial, or you're doing a small workshop of sorts, that you could actually do that, and you could put that out there and then promote that in advance. So like I purposefully, do Monday through Friday. It's, the same time, in order to be consistent so people can find me. However, because I do so much every day, I do create content every day in the feed, that I think I get a different audience than what the algorithm, I would like to expand that. And I think stories would be one way to expand that. Publishing is going to be, groups are going to be another way. And then all of a sudden, stories will be another way to expand the audience and the reach. And so that way, and it's just a matter of figuring out what works for you. How do you want to be, working in LinkedIn? Because I know some people that have really gone after big numbers, and I know the commitment and the time that it takes to put that effort into it. And it's substantial. I mean, it's really substantial. So I want to say, give a shout out to some of the people, and Eric Taylor, Jeff Young. Thank you. Jeff said, hello.
Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Russ and Jennifer. Put my hamburger down long enough to say hello. So namaste, Jeff.
Enjoy your hamburger when you get
it. And then I do that in my group. So then Virginia, good morning. How are you doing? David Munford. And yes, I know that there's so many people out here that are, and then Wendy, hi Wendy, how are you doing? And then yeah, bonjour. So it's a matter of being able to really dial in not only what you enjoy, but what people enjoy having you share.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a balance. And I think really a lot of people, when they're growing and they're expanding, they're getting in numbers. Because I have to tell you, after you get to a certain point, there's a lot of people that connect with you just because you have a few people in your network. And so there's a benefit. However, it's still a challenge, and it comes along with this challenge. How do you manage your connections over time? What are some tips?
Yeah, because like you said, it's hard because you want to have a relationship with all of them, but when you've got several thousand, it's quite hard. I suppose it's about just being intentional and figuring out who are the ones you want to stay in touch with the most. I'd love to say I'm regularly messaging them all. I'm not. I'm probably messaging the local people near where I live. Because it's a bit like managing your home feed. I know it sounds terrible, but I've got a very curated home feed. So even though I've got 6,500 connections, I think now, I
Mhm.
probably only follow 1,000. So I've massively curated my home feed. So by unfollowing people, but we're still connected. And I know there are good people in my network, but a lot of my network comes from my PA days. So it doesn't necessarily relate to what I do now. But that being said, there's still good connections. And I know
Mhm.
I can reach out to them, even if I don't speak to them for a year or two, and it would be fine because we've got that shared past. So I
Yeah,
think it's just about being intentional about who you want to stay in touch with. For me, it's probably just more local because I usually network a lot locally, and I want to work a lot locally, especially when it comes to face-to-face workshops.
yeah,
I used to live in London, and I moved to Devon last year, and before lockdown I was still going back to London every so often, and it's like 4 to 5 hour journey there and back, so you have to stay over. And I just thought, God, this is a lot of hassle. Wouldn't it be great if I could just have an hour journey and do that workshop in Devon and not, so I think it's just about being intentional about what your goals are, who are the ones you want to prioritize. I probably touch base with them all at different times,
yeah.
and I recently added like 1,000 to my network back in March. So when all this crazy lockdown madness started, we have a local airline in the UK called Flybe, which collapsed. And their headquarters are based in Exeter, which is about half an hour away from me by car. So
Uh-huh.
initially, when they collapsed, I was in selfish mode because I lost 3 trips, and I was like, oh my God, because I was meant to go to Dublin to see my family. My mother was meant to come over, and then when I was meant to go to Manchester to see my mother-in-law, so initially it was like, poor me, I'm really fed up. That airline's gone bust. And then that weekend, I had a word with myself and said, cop on to yourself. They've all lost their jobs. So I literally sat down one weekend and reached out to 1,000 people on Flybe, just found them all, messaged them all and said, hey, I'm really sorry to hear what's happened.
Yeah,
If you want any free training on LinkedIn, let me know. So that month it was all me messaging Flybe staff. So it's quite interesting. Like a fifth of my network is in aviation now. So I'm connected to pilots, engineers, cleaners, whatever. But it's really interesting, and it was great chatting to them all. And I noticed at that point in time, people were responding to messages way quicker than before, because
yeah,
I reached out in good faith, the exact same message: you've been made redundant, I'm happy to help you. And before, there was always that bit of reservation. So maybe a 50-50 acceptance rate before, and people would take it for what it is, kindness. Another 50 might be like, she's trying to sell to me, which I wouldn't be. But I noticed when I was mailing all of them, they were all coming back to me. So I was like,
mm,
wow, this is a really good time on LinkedIn to be messaging people, because people are finally accepting it for a conversation. I know you said there still are the spammy salespeople, and you're always going to get them trying to do the sales straight away. But
sure.
I really noticed like a strong, just really fast responses and good conversations and human conversations. So yeah, I'd love to say I've got a tip of how I segment and stay in touch, but I don't. So that month was all aviation. This month I'm connecting to, like, I've been shortlisted for an award, so I've connected with all the other finalists, and then I won an award years ago. This is a bit random, but I saw that the 2020 ladies were announced. It's an award kind of showcasing women in the UK. So I thought, you know what? I won it back in 2016, but I thought I'm going to connect with all the 2020 ladies. And then I went a bit mad and said, you know what? I'm going to do 2017, 2018, 2019, because there's 100 winners every year. And I thought, you know what? That's 400 strong women in my network. So I'm connecting with them at the moment. But I'd love to say there is a rhyme or reason to it, but there isn't. It's just kind of what's going on, whether it's a local event, whether it's a London event, doing lots of filtered searches, finding who I want to.
Well, you got an event coming up too, a virtual event coming up, and then Wendy says, "Congrats, Jennifer, on first place on LinkedIn Rockstars."
Yeah, so. Thank you, because that's actually how I've met really Russ indirectly. Because Brenda, who runs the LinkedIn Rockstars, like just suggested that we chat. And I'm no longer number one. I wish I was, but it was an honor to get to. I think I'm number 5. But that's how I got to number 1, was reaching out to those Flybe staff. So literally, I think my percentage went up about 16%. And actually, Jeff Young, who's on this call, we had a chat and he said, how did you do that? Was it a post or was it a LinkedIn Live? Because I'd done a LinkedIn Live with 2 other trainers, Jane Jackson and Shelley Elslegger. And I said, no, it was just hard grit, just emailing 16 hours, messaging people.
So
it took a bit of work.
So we had a question by Gabriel, who's amazing rock star. He wants to say, figuring out LinkedIn is still a challenge to learn and grow. Yeah. What is your opinion on pods?
I think, so I hate the word pods. I think when you even hear the word pod, you think hacky, hacky, hacky. But I think if you're an employee and you've got a good team, why not stick you all in a pod and you can share content to help promote your company? Likewise, if you're a small company, just stick in, all the associates together. Or if you're working on a project with someone, maybe partnering up for an event, you could create a pod for that. So I think if you've all got the same goal, and, then it's, why not? Why not? It's a good way of staying in touch. But I think in general, like, I get people adding me into random group messages and you're like, why am I in here? What's going on? I don't like those type of ones. But I think if you're all on the same page, whether like you're all, the same employees or you're, partners or suppliers, or there's a common goal, I think why not? I think the word pod is just a bit hacky. The group message.
The other thing that I think is along the same lines, and it can be good or it can be challenging, is the idea of being tagged in a lot of posts. Sometimes I feel obligated to respond when I'm tagged in a certain way, and then sometimes I get tagged by people I'm not really familiar with, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm not really sure what the connection is or why I was tagged. However, I do promote kindness and I do promote smiles.
Yeah.
It's pretty universal. So I guess, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And I take it as a compliment. However, sometimes I feel challenged by being able to respond and react and say thank you and, show some appreciation, because, taking the time to tag somebody, it does take time. So it's not necessarily something as simple as, making a post or turning the camera on.
Yeah.
So I just have to do that. So what's next for Jennifer? What's your future as we're currently in this lockdown situation, or, kind of figuring out what's next? What are we going to evolve into? And it's, it's an ever moving target right now. So I'm just kind of curious of what you're seeing, what you're looking for. What are you excited about? And what can you share with us?
I think for me, like personally as a business owner, my main focus was helping other business owners. But having like reached out to those Flybe staff, it made me realize, you know, I can help professionals, and I would actually like to help people facing redundancy, you know, just get to grips with LinkedIn and see what a good tool it can be. So I'd like to do that. I'm doing loads of volunteering at the moment, just doing webinars for local networks, just trying to reach more people, really. And I've just launched a virtual summit, which is going to happen in 2 weeks. So if anyone's listening here today who fancies it, it's going to be free. It's just 2 hours of learning. So it's not too, with little breaks. So it's digestible, hopefully. And I'm going to be touching a bit on the home feed, groups, and messenger, because I did a poll recently. You mentioned the poll feature, and it was like 86% of people kind of focus on the home feed, and I think there was 0% in groups, and then messenger had 6%, and lurking was 6%, something like that. And I thought, you know what, I just want to show people how I personally use a group, and then how I use messenger. I'm not saying it's the best way, but just so they're aware, because even when it comes to messenger, so many people don't know. Like, you sent me a lovely video message, and people don't even know you can send a video message or an audio message. And I think a lot of people overthink what they're going to write. And why not send a quick video or a quick audio message just saying, hey, it's far more personable. I've never had anyone say, oh, I didn't like that message. They're all like, hey, this is great. I didn't know you could do that. So it starts that kind of a natural conversation.
I've had some amazing reactions with my video.
Yeah, your video is great. Seriously, really nice, because people don't take the time to do them either. So I think when you get one, it's nice. It really helps you to stand out.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, it's easy. So it's simple and easy, but it's really, I'm excited about LinkedIn. I really appreciate you sharing some thoughts and ideas and a little bit about Jennifer. And it's just really wonderful to make these connections and everything. And thank you for being a pirate now.
Thank you.
So you're now in the pirate community. And for those that aren't familiar with the Pirate Broadcast, you know, we do interesting people doing interesting things. We interview and we discover all kinds of information that you would never know before. So thank you so much for being here, Jennifer. So hopefully you'll have a busy week, productive week, and we can stay in contact and everything else that goes along with that. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, because this is my second LinkedIn Live, so I'm still like, I feel like a LinkedIn Live virgin. So like, I'm getting into the swing. So you're making me, like, your passion for video is making me get over myself.
Well, I started the Pirate Syndicate, and my goal and my intention is to help, this year, I want to help 100 businesses start creating their own broadcasts, their own shows. And so putting it out there and practicing it is the best way for me to learn how to produce the effort and the energy and everything that goes into it. So it's really a process, and it's not necessarily simple, and it does take commitment. And with anything else, it's worth it when you get into it, because it produces results.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the kind of conversations that I have, and the conversations that lead to friendships and business and all kinds of amazing conversations. So just like this one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as you know, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, all the gratitude in the world, and thank you. Kindness is cool, and smiles are free, and you enjoy the day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.